The pain behind the name. Before NBA YoungBoy became one of the most streamed rappers of his generation, his life had already pushed him through more pressure than most people experience in decades. The fame, the money, the sold-out shows, and the millions of loyal fans came later. First came a childhood shaped by absence, uncertainty, and a constant feeling that survival was never guaranteed. Born Kentrell DeSean Gaulden in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, YoungBoy grew up in an environment where childhood could disappear overnight. His father was sentenced to a long prison term, leaving a painful space inside the family that no amount of explanation could fill. His mother struggled to create stability, and much of the responsibility for raising him fell to his grandmother. Then came the accident that permanently changed his appearance and his confidence. As a young child, Kentrell suffered a serious neck injury that required him to wear a medical brace. The device left visible marks on his forehead, scars that would eventually become part of the image millions of fans recognized. But behind those scars was a frightened child, learning early that pain could follow him everywhere. While other children dreamed about careers, vacations, and ordinary futures, Kentrell was already trying to understand abandonment. He rarely spoke about vulnerability in a traditional way. Instead, he began storing every emotion inside himself: anger, confusion, loyalty, fear. Those emotions later became the foundation of his music. The world would eventually call him reckless, unpredictable, and controversial. But long before those labels appeared, there was simply a boy trying to turn pain into something powerful. Where are you watching from today? Comment your city or country below. Subscribe to the channel for more stories from behind hip-hop's biggest names. Press 1 if you believe pain can create greatness. Or press 2 if you think fame only makes old wounds deeper. A home that could not last. For a brief period, Kentrell's grandmother gave him something close to stability. Her home became the place where he could eat, sleep, and temporarily escape the pressure surrounding him. She was one of the few people who offered structure without demanding that he pretend everything was fine. But that stability disappeared when she passed away. Her death did not simply remove a family member from his life. It removed the person who had become his emotional center. Kentrell was still young, but suddenly he had to face a world that felt colder and more unpredictable. The grief stayed with him, and instead of processing it openly, he carried it into the streets, his friendships, and eventually his music. For a time, he stayed with different relatives and struggled to find a permanent place where he truly belonged. That movement created a dangerous lesson. Never become too comfortable, because anything could be taken away. He learned to depend on himself, even when he was emotionally unprepared to do so. School became less important. Rules felt disconnected from the reality around him. Adults could tell him to think about the future, but his immediate world demanded attention every day. He was surrounded by young people who were also searching for identity, respect, and protection. Music became his private escape. He began writing lyrics that reflected the life he understood. They were not polished stories created to impress executives. They were raw pieces of frustration, grief, and ambition. His voice sounded young, but the emotions carried unusual weight. He did not rap like someone imagining hardship. He sounded like someone documenting it. That honesty would eventually separate him from thousands of other artists. Fans did not only hear songs, they heard someone trying to survive in real time. However, before the music could become a true career, Kentrell would make decisions that pulled him even further into instability. The group home turning point. As Kentrell's behavior became more difficult to control, he spent time inside a group home. To outsiders, that chapter could have looked like another sign that his life was moving in the wrong direction. Yet the isolation created an unexpected opportunity. Inside that environment, he had time to think. He could no longer move freely through the streets or distract himself with the chaos surrounding him. The walls forced him to confront his emotions, and he began writing with greater purpose. Music stopped feeling like a hobby. It became a possible exit. He studied the rhythm of Southern rap and the emotional delivery of artists who had transformed personal struggle into powerful records. But he did not want to copy anyone completely. His greatest advantage was the story already living inside him. Every verse carried the pressure of Baton Rouge. Every melody contained loss. His voice could switch from aggression to vulnerability without warning, creating a style that felt unpredictable but deeply human. That emotional contrast would later become one of his most recognizable strengths. When he left the group home, he returned with a stronger belief that he could build something through music. There was no major label waiting. No famous manager had arrived to rescue him. The resources were limited, and the path forward was unclear. Still, Kentrell started recording. He used whatever equipment was available and released music directly to the public. The early recordings were rough, but the emotion was impossible to ignore. Listeners could hear hunger in every line. He sounded like someone who believed each song might be his only chance to change his future. The name NBA YoungBoy began gaining attention. NBA originally represented "never broke again," a promise that financial struggle would not define him forever. But the phrase also reflected something deeper. It was a declaration against helplessness. He could not rewrite his childhood. He could not bring his grandmother back. He could not erase the scars on his face. But through music, he could control the story people heard next, building an audience without permission. YoungBoy's rise did not begin through traditional radio campaigns or carefully planned industry meetings. It happened online, one video and one song at a time. He understood that he did not need to wait for approval from executives if listeners were already paying attention. YouTube became one of the most important tools in his career. His music videos often looked direct and unfiltered. They did not hide the environment that shaped him. Instead, the streets, homes, cars, friends, and tensions surrounding his life became part of the visual language. Fans felt as if they were watching events unfold, rather than seeing a polished performance created by a marketing department. Projects such as the early Life Before Fame releases helped establish his voice. Then the Mind of a Menace series pushed his name further. Each project showed improvement, but the core remained the same. Emotional honesty delivered with urgency. His audience began forming a powerful connection to him. Many listeners were young people dealing with broken families, financial pressure, anger, or loneliness. They heard YoungBoy say things they did not know how to express. His music became a place where pain did not need to be hidden. However, the same authenticity that built loyalty also brought scrutiny. YoungBoy was not presenting a cleaned-up version of himself. His songs reflected conflict, distrust, and survival. Critics questioned whether the music glorified instability, while supporters argued that he was simply reporting what he had experienced. That debate followed him as his popularity increased. The industry began noticing the numbers. Videos collected millions of views. Songs spread beyond Louisiana. His voice was reaching listeners across the United States without the support system normally required for a young rapper. But success arrived before his personal life had become stable. The boy who learned never to trust comfort was suddenly receiving money, attention, and influence. Instead of removing the danger around him, fame sometimes made every problem larger. And soon, one major legal case threatened to stop the career, just as it was beginning to explode. Fame collides with the courtroom. YoungBoy's growing momentum was interrupted when he became involved in a serious legal case. The situation placed his future under intense uncertainty. At an age when many artists were planning their first tour, he was facing the possibility that his career could disappear before it fully began. The headlines changed how the public viewed him. To some people, the case confirmed every negative assumption they already held. To his supporters, it became another example of a talented young man trapped between ambition and the environment that shaped him. The truth was more complicated than either side wanted to admit. YoungBoy had real talent, but talent did not automatically create discipline. He carried unresolved grief, anger, and distrust into situations where one impulsive moment could produce long-term consequences. Fame gave him more visibility, yet it did not immediately provide the emotional tools needed to handle pressure. During this period, music once again became his strongest form of communication. He released 38 Baby, a project that helped transform him from a regional name into a rising national figure. The project captured the intensity of Baton Rouge while also revealing emotional depth beneath the hard exterior. YoungBoy sounded defensive, wounded, ambitious, and determined at the same time. Fans responded because the songs felt urgent. There was a sense that his entire future was hanging in the balance. Every record carried the energy of someone racing against consequences. When the legal case eventually moved forward, YoungBoy received an opportunity to continue his life under strict conditions rather than losing everything immediately. It was a second chance, but also a warning. His career was accelerating. His videos were spreading. Industry figures wanted to work with him. Yet the same patterns that had followed him since childhood remained close behind. YoungBoy now faced a decision: use music to escape instability, or allow instability to consume the opportunity music had created. For a while, it appeared that success might finally win. Then another wave of problems arrived, the rise nobody could ignore. By the late 2010s, NBA YoungBoy was no longer simply a promising rapper from Baton Rouge. He had become one of the most powerful digital artists in hip-hop. His numbers were enormous, but his impact could not be explained by statistics alone. He released music constantly. While many artists disappeared for months between projects, YoungBoy treated recording like survival. New songs, videos, mixtapes, and collaborations appeared at a pace that kept fans permanently connected to his world. He did not allow the audience enough time to forget him. Records such as Outside Today expanded his reach and proved he could create major commercial success without abandoning the emotion that built his fan base. His voice remained raw, but the melodies became more memorable. He could deliver an aggressive verse, then suddenly move into a vulnerable confession that sounded almost painfully private. That unpredictability became his signature. YoungBoy's supporters did not treat him like an ordinary celebrity. Their loyalty resembled a community. They defended him online, repeated his lyrics, debated his decisions, and followed every release. To them, he represented survival without pretending the process was clean. Yet the pressure was becoming extreme. YoungBoy was still carrying responsibilities, family complications, public relationships, and legal restrictions while becoming famous at an extraordinary speed. Every personal disagreement could become content for blogs. Every emotional reaction could be recorded. Every rumor could spread before he had time to respond. The same internet that built his career also created a permanent spotlight. His romantic life became a major source of public discussion. Fans analyzed his relationships, children, arguments, reconciliations, and social media posts. The attention often reduced complicated human situations into entertainment. YoungBoy rarely fit the image of a carefully managed star. He reacted emotionally, disappeared, returned, released another song, and converted the chaos into music. The strategy was not traditional, but it worked. His audience continued growing, even as controversy surrounded him. However, that success created an important question. How long could anyone live at that intensity before something finally broke? Success could not silence the chaos. Money changed YoungBoy's circumstances, but it did not automatically heal the wounds that shaped him. He could buy homes, cars, jewelry, studio time, and security. Yet none of those things could replace the stability he never developed as a child. This contradiction appeared throughout his music. One song might celebrate success, while the next revealed paranoia, loneliness, or fear of betrayal. Fans heard someone who had achieved his dream, but still did not feel safe inside it. The higher he climbed, the more people surrounded him, and the harder it became to know who could be trusted. Legal trouble continued following his career. Different incidents created new headlines, restrictions, and court appearances. Each time, supporters worried that another case might remove him from music completely. YoungBoy's future seemed to move between two realities: extraordinary creative success and constant legal uncertainty. His personal relationships also remained under public pressure. Arguments that might have stayed private for ordinary people became viral topics. Every emotional moment was examined by strangers. Fans chose sides, blogs created narratives, and social media turned pain into daily entertainment. YoungBoy sometimes responded through music rather than interviews. That approach gave listeners a powerful connection to him, but it also blurred the line between art and confession. Fans began treating every lyric as evidence about his real life, even when music could include exaggeration, emotion, or storytelling. Despite the chaos, his commercial influence kept expanding. Albums and mixtapes repeatedly entered the charts. His streaming numbers placed him beside some of the biggest artists in the industry. He accomplished much of it without relying heavily on traditional celebrity appearances or constant mainstream promotion. The industry could criticize him, but it could not ignore him. YoungBoy had built a direct relationship with millions of listeners. He did not need universal approval because his core audience remained intensely loyal. Still, the legal pressure was becoming harder to escape. One major federal case would soon place him under strict house arrest, separating him from the environment he knew while forcing him into a new kind of isolation: the house arrest era. When YoungBoy was placed under house arrest in Utah, many people wondered whether isolation would destroy his momentum. He was separated from the streets and people who had influenced much of his music. His movement was restricted, his legal situation remained uncertain, and the pressure surrounding his future was impossible to ignore. But YoungBoy continued recording. The Utah period revealed another side of his personality. He experimented with his appearance, sound, and public image. At times, he seemed calmer. At other moments, his behavior raised new questions among fans. The isolation gave him protection from certain outside conflicts, yet it also created loneliness and frustration. For an artist accustomed to expressing every emotional shift through music, the studio became essential. He released projects from confinement and proved that physical restrictions could not fully stop his connection with listeners. His fans continued streaming his work at enormous levels. The situation created a strange reality. YoungBoy was one of the most commercially powerful rappers in America, yet he could not freely travel or live like a typical superstar. His relationship with the music industry also became more complicated. YoungBoy had frequently expressed frustration with labels, contracts, media coverage, and the people controlling access to his career. He seemed to value independence, but the business surrounding a major artist is difficult to escape. Success created wealth, but it also created obligation. At the same time, critics argued that his constant releases sometimes overwhelmed the audience. Supporters saw the volume differently. To them, every new project was another chapter in an ongoing diary. YoungBoy's music during this era reflected contradictions. He wanted peace, yet seemed drawn toward conflict. He spoke about family, but also about isolation. He celebrated survival, while sounding exhausted by the cost of it. The house arrest period was not simply a legal restriction. It became a test of identity. Could YoungBoy continue creating without returning to the same environment that shaped him? Could he separate the artist from the chaos? Or had the two become permanently connected? Before those questions could be answered, another arrest changed the direction of his story again. The pardon and the possibility of a new beginning. YoungBoy's legal problems reached another dramatic point when authorities in Utah arrested him in connection with allegations involving prescription activity and identity-related offenses. The case placed his freedom under threat once more and reminded fans that even house arrest had not ended the cycle. For many supporters, the news felt painfully familiar. Every time YoungBoy appeared close to stability, another legal situation emerged. The pattern created frustration because his talent was never in question. The real uncertainty was whether he could protect himself long enough to build a lasting future. Eventually, YoungBoy accepted responsibility in multiple legal matters and received a sentence that included incarceration, supervised release, and financial penalties. The outcome temporarily removed him from the constant public cycle, but it also created another moment of reflection. Then came a development few fans expected. In 2025, President Donald Trump granted NBA YoungBoy a pardon related to his federal gun conviction. YoungBoy publicly expressed gratitude and described the decision as an opportunity to continue growing as a person, a father, and an artist. The pardon did not erase every consequence or automatically rewrite his past. It did not remove the pain of childhood, restore the years affected by legal battles, or guarantee that future problems would disappear. But it changed the emotional direction of his story. For the first time in years, the conversation was not only about what YoungBoy might lose, it was about what he could still build. His fans began anticipating new music and a possible return to live performances. The artist, who had built one of hip-hop's strongest online followings, now had an opportunity to reconnect with audiences beyond screens and court updates. Yet the biggest challenge remained internal. YoungBoy had already defeated poverty, industry doubt, isolation, and multiple interruptions. But lasting success would require something more difficult than producing another hit record. It would require discipline, patience, healthier decisions, and the ability to recognize that survival is not the same as peace. Chapter 10 will examine what YoungBoy's journey teaches about fame, trauma, loyalty, fatherhood, accountability, and the possibility of breaking a cycle before the cycle takes everything. Breaking the cycle. NBA YoungBoy's story is not simply about a rapper becoming famous. It is about what happens when talent grows faster than emotional stability, when success arrives before old wounds have been understood, and when survival becomes a permanent state of mind. Strategically, YoungBoy built his career by creating a direct relationship with his audience. He released music consistently, avoided depending entirely on traditional media, and turned raw emotion into a recognizable identity. His greatest strength was authenticity. Fans believed him because his music sounded lived in, not manufactured. That connection gave him power even when controversy limited promotion, travel, and public appearances. But the same emotional intensity that made his music powerful also created risk. Pain can inspire art, but pain without discipline can also destroy opportunity. Fame does not automatically heal abandonment, grief, anger, or distrust. In many cases, it magnifies them. More money brings more choices, more attention brings more pressure, and more influence makes every mistake more visible. The most important lesson from YoungBoy's journey is that surviving hardship is only the first victory. The next victory is learning how to live without constantly recreating the conditions that caused the hardship. Real strength is not only standing up after another crisis, it is building a life where fewer crises happen. That requires accountability, patience, and the courage to accept help. It means protecting family relationships, choosing peace over temporary pride, and understanding that walking away from conflict is not weakness. For someone with children, influence, and millions of young listeners, every healthier decision can create an impact far beyond one career. YoungBoy now has another opportunity to decide what his legacy will become. He can remain remembered as a brilliant artist, repeatedly interrupted by chaos, or he can become an example of someone who finally transformed pain into wisdom. The past cannot be erased, but the future does not have to repeat it. Do you believe NBA YoungBoy can truly break the cycle? Press 1 if you believe this is the beginning of his strongest chapter, or press 2 if you think the pressure of fame will pull him back into old patterns. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with another hip-hop fan, and comment where you are watching from.